I have achieved total sovereignty and complete self-sufficiency. I make my own butter, I owe 3 months' rent, and I have never felt freer than I do standing over the churn. Let me walk you onto the land. The modern world is poison, and I worked this out the way our forefathers did, which was on the internet at 2 in the morning, while the man I used to be lay sleeping off a shift he did not yet know was his last. Somewhere out there a calf was being raised correctly, on real grass, by hand, and I was lying in the blue light being raised by a phone, and I decided at 2 in the morning that the calf and I were going to trade places. So I returned to the land. The land is a 1-bedroom unit on the 3rd floor of a building called the Bellwether, and I do not own it, and the man I lease it from has a name I refuse to learn, because a serf does not negotiate with the modern world, he withdraws from it, ideally before the 1st of the month. Withdrawal began in the kitchen, where I removed the microwave. I did not unplug it. I carried it down to the dumpster the way you carry a thing that has wronged you, and I stood there a moment, and I let it go, and a man who can starve faster than his neighbor is a free man. In its place, I built a system. I bought raw milk from a guy off an app, which is the most ancestral way to buy raw milk, and I bought a butter churn for $200 to turn $4 of that milk into $3 of butter, by hand, in 40 minutes, the way it was meant to be done before someone ruined it with a store. The bread I make myself, from a sourdough starter named Bartholomew, who lives on the counter in a jar, and is, on paper, the only one of us current on his obligations. I feed Bartholomew every morning before I feed myself, because he is building something, and I respect a builder, and because if he dies, the whole operation is just a man in a leased box with a sack of flour. I cook in beef tallow, which I render in the apartment, and I want to be honest about what rendering beef fat in a 3rd floor unit does to the hallway, which is announce me. The neighbors know when I am rendering. The man 2 doors down knocked once, concerned, and I explained that what he was smelling was the smell of sovereignty, and he said it was the smell of a fire, and I told him the modern nose has simply forgotten the difference. No seed oils touch my body, because seed oils are how they keep you docile, and the suspenders are not a costume, they are infrastructure. They are how a man held up his trousers in an era when a man had trousers worth holding up. I split firewood on the small concrete balcony with a real axe I bought new. For the apartment, which does not have a fireplace, so I split the wood and then I stack the wood. And the woodpile waits, seasoned and squared and ready, for the hearth I have not gotten around to installing, because a serious man builds the woodpile first. And from this balcony I have learned to read the fallen. I watched a man cross the street holding an umbrella, shielding his soft little head from a drizzle our ancestors would have simply walked through and died of, and I felt for him, I did, a man so colonized he will not let the sky touch him. He had somewhere dry to be. I had a balcony, an axe, and an entire open afternoon, sovereign and unscheduled. The office is full of them. I went back the once to clear out my desk, and a man I used to call a friend was holding a cup of coffee made with oat milk. Oat milk, milk pressed from a grain by a machine in a factory, and sold to a grown man as food. And I looked at him with the pity you reserve for the truly captured. And I told him the cow was right there the whole time. And he said the cow was not, in fact, right there, and asked if I was okay. And a man who asks if you are okay is a man who has never rendered his own tallow. The worst of them runs a dishwasher. A friend, a good one, had me over, and after dinner he opened a steel door and slid the plates into a machine that does the one honorable labor a household has left. And I asked him how he sleeps, and he said deeply, in a bed, in a house that he owns. And I let that one go, because you cannot reach a man that far gone, a man who has outsourced the dignity of his own hands to a box, while I, a sovereign, wash everything myself in a sink I am renting by the month. Hannah lives in the present, which is the one corrupted territory I have not been able to liberate. She is patient with the churn. She was patient when the milk turned, and patient when Bartholomew got into the cabinet. And the night the rendering set off the smoke detector at 11, she stood in the doorway and said, quietly, that she would love, just once, to order a pizza and eat it in this century with the man she actually lives with. I told her the man she actually lives with does not exist anymore, that I had freed him, and she said she could see that, yes. She wants to live in this century. She says it kindly, which is how I know she has been corrupted by convenience, because a thing that asks for nothing of you will always sound kind. She wanted to call someone to fix the heat. She wanted to order the dinner instead of churning toward it for an hour. She held up her phone the other night, the takeout already in the cart, her thumb over the button, and she looked at me, and she was not asking permission, she was offering me a door. And I told her we do not let strangers cook for us, and she put the phone down very slowly, the way you set down something you have decided to stop carrying. And here is where the modern man would quit. But a sovereign does not have a job to quit, because I already quit mine, gloriously, in February to go full-time on the truth. I started a Substack about masculine self-reliance and a course, $499, called Reclaim the Hearth, which teaches the modern man to provide for his family from first principles, exactly the way I provide for mine. 40 of them have bought it. None of them have asked to see the hearth. The numbers do not understand what I am building. The landlord I will not name sent a letter, and then a second letter, the second one a different color, and I did not open them, because a sovereign does not recognize the authority of a man who has never held an axe, and 3 months is not behind. 3 months is a man who has removed himself from a system that was never real to begin with. The job is gone. The savings rendered down. The card declined at the feed store, which was humiliating only for the cashier, who I forgive. So when the notice came that the power would be shut off Thursday, I did not panic. I welcomed it. I have decided to call it going off-grid, which is the dream, which is the whole point, a man in his land and no wire running back to the captured world. I have candles. I have the axe. I have a jar of Bartholomew, who does not need electricity, who has frankly been carrying this household for weeks. The food in the refrigerator will spoil. But I was raised by a phone, and I am learning to let things go, and a freezer is just a box that makes you dependent on Thursday. Hannah left on a Wednesday. She did not slam anything. She packed a bag, and she stood by the door, and she said she had loved a man once who took her to a real movie and ordered the popcorn without rendering it, and that she did not know where he went, and she hoped I would find him out there on the land. And she asked me to feed myself the way I feed the starter. And then she was gone, down the stairs, into the corrupted century, where the heat works. And the apartment got very quiet. And I went to the counter to feed Bartholomew, because somebody in this house has to be kept alive, and I lifted the lid of the jar. And for 1 second, I was 8 years old at my grandmother's elbow, and there was bread on a Sunday and a woman who would have been horrified that I was now 29 and rendering fat alone in the dark to prove a point to a landlord. And I stood there with my thumb on the cold edge of the churn. And I thought, very clearly, for 1 whole second, that I could just call her, that I could call Hannah, that I could order a pizza. Then I fed the starter. A builder does not stop to eat. Because I have done it, I am sovereign. I am self-sufficient. The power goes off Thursday. The rent is 3 months behind on a unit I do not own. The woman who lived in this century has taken the century with her, and I am standing in the dark over a $200 churn, making, by my own free hand, the $4 of butter I have proven beyond all doubt I never once needed to buy.